Napier said something this week that very much stood out to me in his press conference. I believe there are times when coaches do practice coach speak, and then there are other times when they give us a warning and they are actually being 100% genuine. I think Coach Napier did the latter of those this week. In his opening statement, he brought up Arkansas, and he was pretty upfront with the challenge that he thinks they're going to provide.
I do think Arkansas, although their record doesn't reflect it, they've been in every football game. This is a game that's lost a lot of close games. I do think that they've played really good defense for the most part, and I know offensively they've made a change. I know Sam Pittman personally, and I have a ton of respect for him as a coach and a man. And I do think they're a lot closer than their record indicates. So this will be a challenge.
Now, I might be slightly guilty of this too, but I think a lot of our fan base is sort of taking this Arkansas game for granted. And maybe that's because of their record, which is exactly what Coach Napier said in that clip. And maybe it's because we know how hard the 3 games after Arkansas are going to be. So we're comparing it to that. But honestly, Coach is right. This is absolutely 100% not going to be a gimme game. Let's look at their games this season. But first, quick reminder, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It helps a ton, and we are doing our very best to get to 10,000 subscribers by the time we kick off against Florida State. Gonna need a bunch of you who watch but aren't subscribed to help us hit that goal. It is a lofty one, but I know you guys can help me do it. I think a lot of people just look and they're like, oh, 2 wins. Okay, not a good Arkansas team. But let's break this down for a minute. 1-score loss against BYU, 3-point loss against LSU, who is honestly the cream of the crop in the SEC right now, one of the very best teams we have. A 1-score loss to Ole Miss, another team that's doing really well in conference right now. 3-point loss to Alabama and Nick Saban. Are you kidding? And then a 4-point loss to Mississippi State. They play a lot of really close games. And I think Coach Napier is expecting another close one this weekend. Let's look at the Vegas spread. It's -6 for UF. They're telling you it's likely to be a close game. And for what it's worth, UF hasn't been great against the spread this season. Arkansas has 3 losses to top 15 teams, and they're all by 1 score. This is a tough Arkansas team. This is a good Arkansas team. This is an Arkansas team who plays a tough schedule in the toughest conference in college football. And Napier in his press conference mentioned that he has a ton of respect for Coach Pittman. He talked about the coaching turnover that has happened over there. He knows that despite what Arkansas has looked like this season, from a wins and losses perspective, they do play incredibly hard for Coach Pittman, whose players honestly have always loved him wherever he has. Kind of sounds familiar, huh? Coach Napier also did something that surprised me a little bit. But before we talk about that, I do want to say how much I appreciate his focus on the salute to service. If you have not seen this, he went into detail about the way that UF is going to be honoring those who serve this weekend, why it's important to him, where the black jerseys came from, and more. Take a listen to this.
We're excited about playing in front of a sold-out crowd. I do think this week for me is important for a lot of reasons. We're doing something really unique relative to the saluting those who serve theme of the week. We're going to honor all of our military members, our veterans, local first responders are included in that group. We're going to wear black uniforms for the first time in school history. And I know everybody's excited about the uniform. But I do think it's important. I don't want to lose sight of the intent here, relative to what we're trying to do. Really want to create awareness and show gratitude and appreciation for these people who chose a life of service and ultimately put their life at risk to protect some of these freedoms that I believe sometimes we ultimately take for granted.
Something else that stood out to me is that he's taking the team over to the Veterans Affairs Medical Center to spend some time with veterans. This means a ton to me. And listen, if you are a veteran, active or retired, thank you. It truly does mean a ton. We live in the best country on earth, despite her flaws, because of the men and women who are willing to put on the uniform to defend and protect the United States and all of her people. So this is something I feel really passionately about. I am really excited that Coach Napier does as well, and that he has put such an emphasis, and that it really seems like not only is he having the jerseys made and then they're auctioning them off, but he's actually taking the time to make sure that each player fully understands the importance of what our veterans do for this country. And I think that's huge. That means it's more than just lip service, right? He's actually teaching them a really valuable life lesson. I'm glad that Coach Napier has been focused on what's important. I know you're here for football, but obviously some things in life are more important. And at the end of the day, while Coach Napier is going to be judged by his wins and losses record, I think that it makes it so easy to root for someone who is a good person. We know that the CEO, the leader of this football team, is taking these teenagers that come to him, right, out of high school, and is transforming them into men that are going to be productive members of society, who have good values, who understand the importance about being a good father, a good human, a good contributing member to society. And all of those things do matter too. So again, if you have all of those things and you don't win enough, you won't continue to be the head coach at the University of Florida. But I'll tell you what, it makes me really happy to know that the man in charge really does have a good set of life priorities. Back to what Napier said that did surprise me a little bit though. He downplayed clinching bowl eligibility a bit. Said it was there, but was not really their focus. And maybe his reasoning is that he doesn't want it to be such a letdown if they do lose, because there is 3 daunting games ahead. But I'll play a little devil's advocate here. This game is massive. We've talked about it here on this channel. And as much as Napier wants us to have respect for Arkansas, and I do, I've watched some of their games. They do lose close games. They are very close to having a very different record. But if we can't beat them this weekend, I have a hard time seeing us having a ton of success against LSU, Missouri, or Florida State, especially because 2 of those games are on the road. Since Missouri joined the Southeastern Conference, the Gators have not been good up there. The game is likely to be early. I think most of the time that we've played them, they've been noon kicks. It's likely to be cold. Their stadium can produce 40-mile-an-hour winds on a whim. It's just a hostile place to play, and it's somewhere that UF hasn't had a ton of success. They also have to play in Death Valley, which, in my humble opinion, is the hardest place to play in all of college football. We don't know what time that game's going to be yet, but more than likely it's going to be a night game or a 4:00 kick, so the second half will be at night. The natives are going to be restless. It's going to be a wild environment. It's going to be a hard place to win. All of that aside, this LSU team is also very good, and they score a ton of points. So it's going to be a game where more than likely Florida gets into a track meet if they have a chance to pull it out. And I don't know if I think this team's built for that or not. We are obviously going to find out, but beating Arkansas on Saturday is going to give me a lot more confidence. And then Florida State at home. It's Thanksgiving weekend. It's a rivalry game. Obviously, anything can happen, but Florida State is a top 5 team in the country right now. They are undefeated. They are older than this team, more seasoned. It's going to be a tough game, no matter how you slice it. They've got to beat Arkansas at home, right? This is your best chance for a win out of the 4. I'm not saying there's not a chance in the 3 after it, because of course there is. That's why you play these games. But if you're looking at the odds to get a win and get bowl eligible are in most favor of Saturday. Saturday is where you've got to become bowl eligible. We're going to preview that Arkansas game on Thursday night, 8 p.m. live right here. You know where to find me. Make sure you are locked in with the channel and don't miss it. I appreciate you tuning in. Talk to you guys soon. Go Gators.